Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our April 15th council meeting. Before we start the meeting this evening, we would like to take a moment of silence for the events that happened in Boston today. Okay, thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Babalani?
Here.
We need approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 1st. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 1st, 2013.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Mark. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2013-08 in the amount of $482,441.73. Mark.
Well, Mary answered one of my questions before on the WEX payments. On page 2, Jeremy, there was a meal expense. It was only $6 and something. Is that when they took the truck down to Green Bay, or what was that for? 611, meal for a mechanic, truck delivery.
I don't know what that is, Mark. Let me check into that. I'm not familiar with what we paid in the mail.
Okay. That's all I got.
Chris.
My only question is the WEX bank for the gas purchases. I haven't seen that before on there.
That's, it's the first time you've seen it is on this one. That's, we make our payments to now for Marathon.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
No questions.
Lee.
Page 4, about 10 items down under television. It says 10, refurbish HD DVR boxes. Is that $2,900? Is that for 10 boxes, or is that supposed to be 100 boxes?
No, that's correct. That's refurbished.
They're that expensive?
Yes.
How often have we done that?
This is the first time that we've bought refurbished ones.
Oh,
We had purchased a large quantity when we did the project, and we worked through most of those, and now we're out and we need to replace them.
and what's a new one cost?
They're around 600, 550, the Motorola's.
Chris, you must know a lot about that. You think that's a good deal?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Okay, that's all I have.
And I have no further questions. With that, I need a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we approve manifest 2013-08 in the amount of $482,441.73.
I'll support. Motion made by Mark, supported by myself. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on the minutes, manifest, or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, then there'll be a further time for comment at the end of the meeting on any subject. Okay, first thing on this evening we have is appointments and presentations, safe routes to schools. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We put this back on the agenda because last week we were down in Lansing for a conference. We had a chance to meet up with some folks from MDOT, and Kevin Trevelyan from Coleman Engineering is with me, and we had that opportunity, and they had instructed us that that grant for the sidewalks has gone back to 100%. from 80%. So we thought our resolution that we passed a few months ago is still a good resolution. That the amounts that we talked about locally is still the same, but we thought we'd go back through the project since it's coming back at 100% and looking more like the original plan. And that actually has to be in by April 22nd. So, you know, we're coming up close, but we're going to make those changes. Kevin, why don't you come up and you can kind of present that and answer any other questions they may have.
Hi, everybody. I wasn't expecting to be back on this topic again before we submitted an application, but it was pretty nice to go down to Lansing and actually get some good news. Ray mentioned at a federal level, the program had switched to the 80% grant, 20% local match requirement, similar to many other programs. If you remember at that time, given those circumstances, we were looking at a project totaling about $100,000 worth of construction to fit, within the amounts of money that you folks in the city of Norway was willing to contribute to the project. Well, with the state of Michigan is actually the ones who have decided to put up the local agency's 20% share and match those federal dollars so that communities have a chance, once again, like it used to be, to get a construction project that's 100% funded, minus engineering. So all of the construction activities with Safe Routes to School, starting again with this upcoming cycle, are 100% funded. What that does, the consequences of that are very good. You know, we've gone from being able to do a $100,000 project to approaching $360,000 with the city of Norway spending the same amount of money. You know, we can, with you folks investing in engineering more, we can engineer a heck of a lot more construction than what could be paid for with that 20% local match, if that makes sense. So it's not an even ratio. We're getting 20% of the construction funded, but it can be 20% of a lot larger project. So that's what you see here on the map you were provided. All of those improvements, our estimate totals $361,000. If we were to prepare the application for this project, I can't guarantee that the Safe Routes to School program would accept this as it currently sits. That would be a large project for them. But based on our conversations that we had with them in Lansing and in the days following, actually, I would suggest if you're willing to do that, and if they ask us to pare back the project a little bit, we could get back together and decide, prioritize the improvements.
But by paring back any, that wouldn't affect our share. It was strictly just the engineering, that's it.
Right. Anything that we do, going back and looking ahead, you guys put right in your resolution your local commitment, and we'll work with it.
And the engineering is basically 10% of the total construction cost?
Yeah. That's a pretty good value, actually. Right?
Yeah. I remember the last time.
Okay.
I have a question on the map that we have here.
Sure.
On the intersection of Section Street and 6th Avenue, I see on the, would be on the west, or on the east side of Section Street, you have a curb drop there. There's only about 4 houses there, and I don't understand why there would be a curb drop right there, right in the center of the sidewalk. It's not on any kind of a corner. See where it's red there?
Yeah, right. To meet ADA, if there's any sidewalk over there, and just looking at the map, it looks like there is. If you do the ramp on one side of the road, you need to do it on the other as well. Now, on 5th Avenue, we don't show any on the east side, and I believe that's because there's no sidewalk adjacent to either the north or south leg right at that intersection. So that's an ADA thing.
But I mean, you have 2 curb drops just on the just on the, would be the north and the south side of Sixth Avenue, don't you think that's quite a waste? I mean, you could get by with one. I mean, looks like they're only 20 feet apart.
Yeah, I would have to look at it closer in the field. I can see just from the photo that the one on the northeast quadrant will be required for sure. And it's pretty likely that we'd need to put in that southeast one too, just to meet ADA.
Well, what I thought is eliminate the one on the side of Section, would be on the west side of Section. And then you wouldn't have one across because they're only 20 feet apart. And I think those, from when we looked at the quote for construction, those were pretty pricey. They're only 20 feet apart.
Yeah, it's not uncommon though to provide all four quadrants, access at all four quadrants, but at this stage, you know, we could deal with specific issues like that when it came to design phase. A bigger concern here, or something to think about is what streets we're proposing to do. Not necessarily exactly what we're proposing to do to them at this point.
You know, now that you said that, I mean, you have Third and Fourth, and then you have Fifth, Sixth, and there's nothing down that way to go down towards town.
The concern I would have is with Third, there's a lot of issues on Third that if you went and redid the sidewalk, I don't know that there would be a lot of benefit to it. Just with parking issues in that area, and
Yeah.
how often would the sidewalk actually not be blocked, and how would it be accessible?
Yeah,
I
I've
was
heard
thinking
that,
you should take
voiced.
Third and move it down to Sixth. Because you would have one that you didn't do in between, and then you'd have one down along the highway, so the kids wouldn't have to walk along the highway that were down on that side of town.
Yeah, you know, what you see represented here is a result of the action plan that was written and the work through
Well,
Michigan State.
and I understand that from the plan. I remember seeing the plan, and
Yeah.
that's one of the areas where they do have foot traffic, and that was why the Third was picked.
Right.
There's just a lot of issues with Third that would, I don't know that you're gonna get the value of doing it. It's because, like I said, there's a lot of parking on the sidewalk in that area, because of garage distances, and especially in the winter.
Yeah, that is, it's something that we could certainly consider. We need to do it very soon, given the tight application deadline. So if we wanted to get together, maybe this week and talk with the folks from the school and look at how it relates to the action plan, I'd be fine with that. There isn't, you know, if you talk about moving Third Avenue to Sixth Avenue instead or something, that's not gonna be a great impact to the project cost. And, you know, really from an engineering perspective, I'm pretty impartial.
You know, because Third is on the edge of town, would be on the south side of town, and there's not a lot of homes from Third to, you know, towards Wisconsin, would be south. And Sixth, you have a lot of
I
traffic.
know when we were looking at pairing the whole project, Third was one of the ones we were gonna just get rid of.
Right, right, yep.
That's just a thought. Like I said, I'm glad to see it's back to 100% grant funded too, so that we
Yeah,
can
that
get
was
more
really good
projects.
news.
Do we need to make a motion tonight to move this on to a larger $300,000 project like originally? Is that what we're looking at now?
No, this is a for your information type of presentation, so that, you know, we were going to get that application out as we originally had put together. There are some of those details, and that's something we have to work through as to whether, you know, we move that right now or we wait until we, you know, are working with MDOT more directly.
How would they handle a change like that? If we submitted it like this just to get it in, but then said, okay, now instead of Third, we want it to be Fifth or Sixth?
Well, there's a couple months where we could probably do that. You just need a valid explanation. And I honestly don't remember exactly how the results of that study read. You know, if they pinpointed Third Avenue or not, I if it turned out to be a function argument,
Right.
we could probably make it.
I know with some of the grant sources now, they're getting really strict on changing anything.
Yeah, scope changes are frowned upon.
I think in the original project, why Third Avenue was in there is because it shoots just right straight into the school.
Yeah.
Third and Fourth go right into the school. I'm sure that's why it was originally there, not saying it was the best one to do.
But you have a lot more of your population down on the other side.
Yeah, and as, you know, like Ray mentioned, is for information here, there's a little bit of time, if you guys wanna, you know, give some guidance to Ray, and he can get with me, and we can submit whatever you'd like.
It's just gonna have to be done real quick. It'd be nice to get it in before,
Yeah,
before the
we'll be,
22nd there.
That was another change, is that it's an online application now, which is that's kinda nice. So we'll be starting right away, even today, starting to fill out the information for the online application, and they're requesting that we allow them a day or 2 or 3 to review our application before we officially submit it, in case they can give us some tips.
Well, Ray, can you set up a meeting with you and Lou, I'm assuming, and express some of our concerns, your Mark's and Jeremy's?
Right, we can set something
Before
up this
then.
week.
Sure.
On those drops, those handicap drops, what do those run typically, price-wise, rough guess?
I would say anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 by the time you throw in all of the stuff that comes with it, you know, taking out curb that might be there, a little bit of HMA to patch it back up.
Does this include the new curb from 88 to 88 on the corner?
Yeah.
This is all new curb? And I'm assuming that would be put in as to, in case we come down the road, we put a new street in, it's gonna be at the proper level and everything?
It would be most of this area has curb now, so it would be replaced at its current elevation, unless we identified a problem that exists there now. And I wanna make sure I answered your first question properly. If we're doing 2 ramps at an intersection, you're asking if the whole curb radius would be replaced?
Yes.
Okay, in almost every case. Yeah, if the sidewalks were really far enough the road and we put in a style of ramp that they're far apart, then if the curb's in good shape, we may not have to, but in almost every case, yes.
I would really like to see us drop the crossing, a cross section on the south side of Sixth, on both sides, because I think it's that $4,000, we could use it somewhere else.
Okay, yeah.
You're only 20 feet apart.
Yeah, I really don't think we can though, and still meet ADA. But I could look at it closer, actually out there on the street. It's actually too bad, but there's oftentimes, they look like sidewalk ramps to nowhere, put in projects just because you're forced to from the guidelines. But I guess I can have a look at it, certainly. Maybe the snow will be gone enough even to do that now.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Okay.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming in and representing it to us and bringing us the good news.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, in our community, we have 2 items on communications this evening. The first item is approval, cable TV department, proof of performance testing. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we have to do per FCC rules on a regular basis, so we're asking council's consideration to approve to have CCI Systems handle our proof of performance testing at a price not to exceed $6,800. We also did get a price from Technology Planners. Their price was at $9,000.
What is this proof of performance testing?
To the best of my knowledge, not being hands-on. This is testing the system for leaks in the system. No, it's for performance of your system. I mean, it's proof of performance.
Yeah, it's a mandatory FCC test. We are over 1,000 TV subscribers that you have to run once a year. And it basically tests the performance of the system from a technical standpoint, basically. They take
Verifying quality of channel.
verifying quality of the channels. They'll take a subset of 12 channels, and they'll take different test points throughout the system to make sure that it all comes into spec for those 12 channels, no matter where they're testing.
So they test at the different nodes or in something along those
Correct.
lines?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Chris, do you have anything to ask? No. Joe?
I have none.
I'll make a motion, we approve CCI Systems for FCC proof performance testing for a price not to exceed $6,800.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
The last thing on the communications this evening is approval of the water SCADA system. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an item that we've talked about a number of occasions, mostly regarding the cost that our telemetry line has seemed to have jumped over the last year from our well site to our tank. We had previously moved forward with completing the fiber connection from those two, in that system, from the tank to the well site. And the final portion of this is to put this system in place that will then utilize that fiber, and then we can eliminate that telemetry line. We went out for bids on the SCADA system. We had 3 companies that put in proposals to us. PJ Corton's company was a low responsive, well, it wasn't the low responsive bidder. Johnson Controls was a low responsive bidder. But our recommendation is to work with PJ Corton's, mainly because Johnson Controls has not ever done a water system, SCADA, water or sewer. And just from a familiarity standpoint, both Energetics and PJ Corton's have done numerous, this is their business, they do numerous work in the water and sewer area. Of course, this is council's pleasure, but it's our feeling that we'd rather work with somebody who's familiar with the system, with the water SCADA type systems. The price for that is $74,860. We did include pricing from RJB, that's Rick Bueller. We've been working with him on a regular basis now through the existing program that we have with the hydro, and this is something that would coordinate between the SCADA system so that we have consistency within our system, and that would add another $15,257. So the total would be $90,117 for a price not to exceed $90,117. We're open to discussion or your comments or concerns regarding our recommendation. So I'll take those at this time.
This was a budgeted item. It was in the budget for $100,000, so all the bids came in under that. This will also save us about $23,000 a year in phone line charges and in electric charges from some of the energy savings. So it's a just under 4-year payback before we've paid back the money we spent to do this project.
Ray, have we had any dealings with Johnson Control? I thought they were down to Hydro at one time, doing some things.
No, we've talked with them. I haven't dealt with them. We've talked with them about the city hall. Their main business is in building facility type controls. So we've been talking with them about some of the computer issues that we've had here. Through that discussion, they actually were interested in putting a price in for the water and the sewer. That's how they kind of got into the mix. But
Were they in the mix of designing for the heating and cooling in this building?
No,
No?
no, that was through the original contractor and engineer, and that company is out of Duluth. It's a different company.
Good. I guess I would like some more information on that company because it's it's over $8,000 less than the other company. You know, and I wouldn't think they would be bidding on it if they didn't have any background in it. And if we can save a little over $8,000 on this project, I think we should do a little more checking.
Joe, you've kind of vetted this out, why don't you?
Yeah, and I did, and I can touch on that a little bit. And the reason that I recommended P.J. Corton's over Johnson Controls was just because of their familiarity with water systems and talking to the folks up at Kingsford, because they do Kingsford's. And City of Florence does Energetics, and Energetics does Brighting Township also. Nobody up here has ever used Johnson Controls for anything like this. The person that put in the bid admitted to me during the bid opening, after the bid opening, he said to me, you know, we've never done this before in a water system. And I said, well, my comfort level is not that good. The way he explained it to me is he felt they could be competitive in it because it's controls, that they control many things in very large commercial buildings. And he just said to me that controls are controls. We deal with controls. I said, okay, that's what I'll tell them if they ask me. But they do not have any experience in the type of job that they're bidding on currently. It's just a comfort level with me. That's all it is. Why I would rather go with P.J. Corton's because of their experience with the water.
And I'm not sure if we can bring any new information to you if we wait 2 weeks. I think it's just a matter of, you know, if you choose to go with Johnson Controls, I mean, I'm sure we'll move it forward and we'll work with them. And
How long has that company been in business, Joe?
Oh, they've been in business a long time,
Johnson
Mark.
Controls is a big company.
Johnson Controls has been around a good 25 years.
Oh, more.
Doing more than that,
Yeah.
doing
They're big.
building control, heating, cooling, type control work. And at a certain level, when you're talking about relays and PLCs and data outputs and collecting all that stuff, yeah, what he said to me is true. I mean, a lot of that is built into all of these prices here for all of the companies that quoted. And is a control? Yeah, you know, as long as it's put in properly and you understand it. I was thinking as it from a water standpoint that they might come up against a valve that we want controlled or something that they haven't dealt with before, and we might be a little better off going with the P.J. Corton's and have less of a problem. That's my only reason for suggesting them.
Personally, from some of the experiences we've had before dealing with companies who were newer to their field, and we've had some issues with that with other companies, I would feel more comfortable going with a proven company, not somebody just coming into it. That's my feelings on it.
I see with the PJK quote, they were talk about including some variable frequency drives.
Yes, that's in all of them.
That's in all of them?
Yes, everybody was putting in variable frequency drives, and that's how you get the energy component
So that
savings.
That should save us on the electric cost.
On the electrical output of the well motors, yes, that's where those are going. And then the 10,596 was the savings a year in dropping the AT&T line.
Yeah, the electric savings from the variable frequency drives and other changes are $12,821 a month.
A year, yeah.
A month.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, a month.
With the other part of the business that they deal with, Joe, have you talked to anybody on how they back up their work? I mean, I know it's not in the water side of it, but the other part of what they typically would do. Do they stand behind their work?
Yeah,
Is their work
they've been a
good?
company, Mark, that's been in business for 25 to 30 plus years. And I've heard about them. They're based out of Milwaukee, so they're not that far away.
Where's the other one based out of?
Appleton. P.J. Corton's is Appleton, and Energetics is just north of Milwaukee. in a small town just north of Milwaukee.
I guess for myself, I think if they're a good reputable company and they're close, and if they stand by their products for, other situations that they've been in, I think we should try to save $8,200.
I just hate being the guinea pig for somebody to learn how to do something on.
Do all the companies have the same guarantee as far as their,
Yeah, it's 1 year manufacturing and warranty and stand behind their product.
Were the components pretty much the same between all the quotes?
Everybody had their own little favorites that they wanted to do. I tried to spec it out as listing a certain type of component, like an Allen Bradley relay, but then Johnson Controls sees that and goes, well, we don't use Allen Bradley because we make our own control.
So Johnson Controls makes their own.
They make their own
Yeah.
controls, their relays and their PLCs. So, so obviously they can probably do it a little bit cheaper than going out and buying Allen Bradley equipment. But the industry standard that a lot of people have, is Allen Bradley. And I'm not saying anything bad about Johnson Controls because they're a reputable company. They've been around a long time. And like I told you, it's your pleasure to do whatever you want. And the reason I suggested it was just because of the water part of it, that's all.
I just think we could use $8,200 somewhere else in the water system with the savings.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments?
Well, I can see Mark's point there, of saving the $8,200, but along with staff's recommendation, I'll just as soon go with PJK Company.
Okay, is that a motion or?
No, it wasn't a motion, just a statement.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments or? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we give the project to Johnson Control not to exceed $66,793,
Including the R.
including the RGB of $15,257. Total project is $82,050.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion made by Mark, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mr. Menegini?
No.
Dr. Hayes?
yes,
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
And that's the conclusion of our business this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Ed Ball, Valley View Road. Is there any particular reason why, like Saginaw Street is not included on the safe route to school?
It's on the other side of US 8. They tried to keep us in between US 2 and US 8 so we weren't crossing the highway.
Oh, you have 2 schools in town.
They didn't go to Holy Spirit. You're correct.
You mean, unless it's a public school, it does not qualify for safe route?
I'll bring that up to them this week when we get together.
I think
I
a
can't-
lot
I
of,
don't know
well, I
about
think
that.
a lot of that project, the project was driven and started by the school. That's why if Holy Spirit wasn't pushing into it, into starting it, the school's the one who starts this project. We just facilitate the construction end of things and that it's a school-driven project.
The sidewalks over in that location are worse than any of them over on the other side of town.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council?
I'm Jean Bradford, N2465 Travis Farm Road. I just have a couple questions. I'm looking at your manifest. For your cable television, the expenses were like $83,537. And that's, I'm assuming a 2-week period. Is that correct?
Yes.
A couple months back, when we went through the budget and the auditor reviewed the budget, and he said that that cable, internet phone service was a area that needed to be looked into.
Yes.
And then at one of the council meetings, you were going to do a rate study, and I think $2,000 was allotted for that study. Whatever came of that?
That study has been completed.
And
We have budget hearings coming up starting next month, where we're going to be taking a look at what we need to do with the rates. I don't have the numbers from the study in front of me, so I'm not going to try to guess them off the top of my head. But it has been completed.
so with all this upgrade, like this much money spent, I'm not exactly sure what all this Packer land, the cost involved in this, like this National Cable TV Co-op subscription fees, $31,983. I mean,
That's for channels that we get in, and we're charged based on the number of subscribers we have. So it's in the formula for our rates. But that's for that's to get the channels in, some of the channels in that we have. In this month, in that 83,000, that a lot of it is subscriber fees for the channels that we have. Plus, we also have the bond payment this month of 31,000 on this manifest.
And then who was it that did the study, the rate study? What company?
Technology planners.
Technology.
sorry?
Technology planners
Okay,
out of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
okay. Thank you. And then I have another question. Since you spoke up, Joe, the hydroelectric plant, we're still buying a lot of energy from WPPI. Is this ever going to decrease?
Well, there's a lot of variables that go into answering your question, and there's a lot of unknowns also in that answer. But currently, right now, with the water supply that we currently have and had for the last month and a half, we've been generating about 70% of the power that is consumed in the system. That varies depending on the weather patterns and how much moisture there is in the rivers in order to make that power. The plant is capable, if you had enough water, to generate all of the needs for the city's system. The problem is that you don't have that much water all the time to do that. In the summer, the rivers go down, the flows decrease, and we only have enough water to make about 1.5 to 2 megawatts of power, which is about half of the city's needs. So it varies throughout the year, and it varies from season to season. So I can't really accurately answer that question because I don't know what's going to happen, next week, next month, next year. So
Well, hopefully next month we'll have plenty of water.
I'm going to
And-
guess that next month we won't be buying anything. That's
And
correct.
will the customer get a decrease on their rate?
Yes, they will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Currently,
PCAC
yeah.
fluctuates up and down based on our purchase power cost. So if we don't have the power cost,
Correct.
your rate will go down.
Okay. And then tell me the charge card fees and the debit card charges. What is that about?
That's the fees we pay when somebody comes in and uses the debit card or a credit card to pay your utility bill. We get charged a fee every time somebody uses. But we also we put the fee back on, we do charge them a fee.
So that's reimbursed to you then? That is not an expense?
Not 100%, correct. Right?
And will it ever be?
We are, as of May 1st, we are changing to a 1.5% fee on our credit cards.
And debit cards?
Yes, and that's going to be pretty close. We did an analysis of like the last 2 years, and that was pretty close to covering our expenses.
Okay. Okay, well, I think I've monopolized my 5 minutes, so I thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, Lee.
I got a few items here. I know it's still early, and I mentioned it a month ago, but we can get that porta pot up there at the spring. Keep the people from going in the woods up there. I'd like also, Ray, if you can dig into and find out here, like last week, Iron Mountain and Kingswood were talking about consolidating. I'm not talking about consolidating, just this article here, where they come up with their price per officer, $340 per year per each resident, and what it actually costs them per police officer. I would like you to come up with a figure to see where we stand in the parameters of this, as if hopefully we're below them. But I know it's going to be a little harder because we've got the part-timers. And if you could find the cost of that, then again, let us know the cost per resident and the actual, how many people per police officer. Like they had it also in here, they had one officer for every, it's in here someplace, 300 and some whatever it was for every citizen, every officer, every citizen. And then another thing, I'd like to remind everybody of the Spring Classic this weekend. You want to get a picture of that, Mary? I'm advertising for a Norway Spring Classic here. And anytime you can bring 500 people into this town, that's good. And these people have done an awful lot of hard work up there to keep this going. That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
I've been saying for at least 20 years that the city needs to produce electricity to make up for the amount of water that, or the electricity that we can't produce from our generating plant. And I've been told by every administrator that a wood-fired plant doesn't make any sense because you can't make enough electricity from the wood. But now just up the road from us, there is a wood-fired electrical production plant that is making money for so. So again, I think the city needs to look into somehow producing electricity on demand so we don't have to pay an exorbitant price, whether that's a gas meter, a wood-fired meter, or perhaps generating methane from the sewer treatment plant and using that to generate electricity. But I think that the city should somehow be able to manufacture or produce power to meet our peak production, because we pay so much money for peak production when the water isn't running. And I know we're part of PPI at this time. It may be very difficult, but still that's something that I've been thinking we need to look at for at least 20 years in the council.
Anything else?
My soapbox tonight.
Okay. Chris?
I'd just like to repeat what Lee said, and Spring Classic coming up this weekend, and thank all the organizers for that. And good luck to everybody out there racing.
Mark?
I got a couple things. I think Lee had a good point with the police officers. I was curious to see if the DDA area is all the way up the highway on US 2. Is the DD? I don't understand why I didn't think of it, is to, instead of doing the parking lot by Peterson Electric, I know it's too far gone now, but the first 50 feet off of all these intersections, Walnut Street is terrible where the buses turn in. It's just nothing but holes. Mine Street is the same. Iron Street is the same. They take a good beating. I think that this should be on the priority for the DDA.
We can bring it up to the DDA on the regular expenditures, but in the grant, in the project, it was not allowed. It was not an eligible expense in that
Okay.
project. So it was typically, the grant parameters had to be on the main street.
I think if the DDA is looking to spend some money, if they do have some money, that would be a good project. I'm hoping the rumor wasn't true, but Joe, are we looking at a new backhoe for the public works?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's foolish. I think we need to hold off on the equipment, and we need to get some asphalt on some of these streets. You know, we have nothing but potholes here, and we're gonna have all new machines in the machine shed to grade gravel roads here pretty quick.
Okay, just my comment back to you is the water utility was paying for the backhoe, not the general fund or the roads. It's coming out of the water fund.
Well, we also have a lot of other water projects. We had some low water pressure in things like that down in Vulcan. I think we should be concentrating on our,
Yep.
on
And
our people
it'll-
rather than filling the machine shed.
And it'll be coming up during council budget hearings to talk about all that stuff.
And then I had asked a couple meetings ago about getting WPPI to reimburse us for Joe's labor for the trip that he took as a board member. I haven't heard anything about that. And then I've also asked about the real estate section. It's coming home building season, and we haven't did anything to get a new realtor on board as far as advertising the spring lots and some of the other lots we have in town.
I have been reaching out to different real estate companies, soliciting proposals, so I have been working on that.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Okay. I've got nothing extra this evening. Joe?
As long as we were talking about the hydro, I just want to tell everybody that all 4 of the units are operating, and we've been turning each unit on and off and testing it and making sure all the controls and everything work good for this upcoming spring runoff if it ever gets here. And we'll be good to go, and we should be making quite a bit of power, and hope everything will go well. That's pretty much all I have.
Hey, Mary? Tricia? Jay? No, nothing, thank you. Ray?
The only thing is that this weekend, we have the Spring Classic. Just like Lee and Chris mentioned about the volunteers, it's a lot of work to put it on, a lot of people in the community. Just be aware Saturday morning that this is going on if you're out and about in the community. So,
Jeremy, I got one more thing. Joe, I was, nothing against the Energist people. I think that the gentleman that I met, very nice gentleman, but I was under the impression they were union members. And are we going to have any problems with that?
I was assured that we are not. They are doing something that's called signatory with the IBEW union. Basically, they're paying the dues that a normal employee would pay. So the questions came up. It came up a week ago, and I was told that they're going to be signatory, and they had about 3 weeks to a month to get that done with the IBEW. They're working on it, and I was told it's not going to be a problem.
Okay, I hope not.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Okay. With that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.